Welcome to Story Time, where tales meet transformation. Today, we unravel the secrets of peaceful slumber with the Sleep Book by Dr. Guy Meadows, your antidote to restless nights.
Okay, we've all been there, haven't we? Just lying awake, staring at the ceiling, clock ticking, and you know you need to sleep. You're desperate, but the harder you try, well, the wider awake you feel. And then you get all the advice right, turn off your phone, take a bath, no caffeine. It often just feels frustrating, like you're missing something. So today, we're doing a deep dive into something pretty different, a really groundbreaking approach to sleep that challenges a lot of that standard advice. We're looking at Dr. Guy Meadows' book, The Sleep Book, based on an extended summary of his work. And our mission here is really to unpack how Meadows, he's a sleep physiologist, founder of the Sleep School, how he lays out this 5-week plan. It completely reframes how we get to sleep. And his main idea, it's bold, maybe even a bit counterintuitive. He says, the secret to good sleep lies not in what you do, but in what you learn not to do. It's about shifting your mindset, fundamentally. So let's see how he builds that argument.
Exactly, and that's what we're going to explore. We'll be digging into how Meadows uses acceptance and commitment therapy, that's ACT, along with mindfulness. It's just a really fresh angle on such a common problem. The whole point is to help you, let go of that struggle. Stop fighting the sleeplessness. And by doing that, you sort of retrain your brain to tap back into its natural ability to sleep. I mean, your body is built for sleep with circadian rhythms, melatonin, all that. But our minds or learned behaviors, they can really mess that up.
Okay, let's unpack that. So Meadows kicks things off by calling insomnia a trap. And honestly, if you've been stuck in that cycle, you know exactly what he means. That feeling, that horrible anxiety, the fear, the frustration about not sleeping. He's suggesting that feeling, the fear itself, might actually be keeping the problem going. I think we've all had that, where your brain just sparks alive the second you try to switch off. It's infuriating. So Meadows is saying that effort is the problem.
That's precisely his paradox of sleep. The harder you try, the further away sleep gets. He frames insomnia less as just a physical issue and more as a learned behavior.
Yeah.
It's like a habit we've sort of accidentally taught ourselves. And if it's learned, well, the good news is it can be unlearned. But that needs a real shift in how you think about it, letting go of those habits that keep you awake.
That's fascinating. So he's not just pointing out the problem, he's actually giving us a map. This 5-week plan, it sounds like a very specific journey to change your whole relationship with sleep step by step. How does that actually work? How does he guide you through that unlearning?
Yeah, it's quite structured. Each week builds on the last one. So week 1 is basically awareness. It starts simple, just observing your thoughts, your feelings about sleep. But crucially, without judging them, you practice mindfulness to notice the patterns, the triggers, and you start to identify what he calls your sleep effort, all those things you do trying to force sleep, which, usually just ramps up the anxiety.
Right, the things that backfire.
Exactly. Then week 2 moves into acceptance. Now, this is where it gets really interesting and maybe feels a bit weird at first. It's about embracing wakefulness when it happens instead of fighting it tooth and nail. The insight here is that fighting it just feeds the anxiety and tension. Resisting makes it worse. So you stop the fight. You use ACT techniques to sit with the discomfort, just allow it to be there without reacting.
Okay, so not pushing it away, just letting it be there. That does sound counterintuitive.
It really does, but that's often where the change starts. Then week 3 is about commitment. But importantly, not committing to forcing sleep, it's committing to behaviors that actually support natural sleep. Things like creating a wind-down routine that feels genuinely calming, not just another rigid rule to follow. You might use journaling here, not to obsess over sleep hours, but to track your progress, your insights into how your relationship with sleep is shifting.
So it's more about creating the right conditions, not controlling the outcome.
Precisely. Then comes week 4, diffusion. This is all about learning to detach from those really unhelpful thoughts, like, oh no, I'll never sleep again. The idea is you don't have to believe every thought that pops into your head or wrestle with it. You learn to see them as just mental noise, like clouds drifting by. You notice them, but you don't get carried away. Taking away their power lets your mind calm down naturally. He brings in tools like visualization, breathing techniques, the 4-7-8 breath, diaphragmatic breathing to help create that mental space. And there's a big focus on self-compassion here too, dropping the self-blame.
That detachment sounds powerful. Okay, so what's the final step?
Week 5 is integration. This is about cementing those new habits and that new mindset. It's about really internalizing that, sometimes you'll have that night. That's normal for everyone. And celebrating the progress you've made, however small, and continuing to use mindfulness day to day.
Wow, okay.
That's a really thorough journey. It goes from just watching, like you said, all the way through acceptance and then committing to these new ways. It feels very holistic. But I wonder, are there parts people find particularly tough?
Yeah.
Or surprising, maybe?
Yeah, good question. Definitely. I mean, the techniques themselves, mindfulness meditation, the ACT exercises for accepting discomfort, the sleep diary used non-obsessively, visualization, those breathing methods, they're all tools for managing your mind and emotions around sleep. But yeah, that week 2 acceptance, that's often the biggest hurdle because everything in you screams, fight this, fix this, when you're awake at 3 a.m. To actually lean into it, to accept the wakefulness, that feels completely wrong at first. But Meadows argues that's precisely the turning point.
And speaking of counterintuitive things, that advice about staying in bed when you're awake, that really jumped out at me. Because, the common advice is get up, do something boring. My first reaction is, why don't I just lie there getting more frustrated?
Yeah.
How does he explain that one?
Right. It's another perfect example of that paradox. His reasoning is all about retraining the brain. See, for many people with insomnia, the bed has become associated with frustration, anxiety, and being awake. It's a learned connection. By staying in bed without trying to force sleep, just resting, being present, you start to break that negative association. You're teaching your brain, slowly but surely, that the bed is actually a place for rest, for calm, even if sleep isn't happening right now. It weakens the link between bed and panic.
Okay, I get the logic now. It's about rewiring that association. And he doesn't just rely on the theory, does he? The summary mentions some real stories, like the woman who had insomnia for 20 years and finally overcame it by embracing being awake, and the man who stopped being afraid of sleepless nights and got his energy back. Those examples, those real client stories, they make it feel much more achievable. It's not just an abstract idea.
Absolutely. And that actually raises a good point about how he presents all this. The book itself apparently has a really conversational tone. It's empathetic, not clinical or full of jargon, very accessible, uses illustrations, summaries. It sounds like it's designed to feel like a supportive guide, not some heavy medical textbook.
Which really helps land that core message, doesn't it? That simple but powerful idea. Sleep is a natural process. The more you try to control it, the more you disrupt it.
Exactly. And that's the invitation he extends, really, to trust your body's own wisdom, to let go of all that sleep anxiety and start building a healthier, more sustainable relationship with rest itself.
So wrapping up our deep dive on Dr. Guy Meadows, the big takeaway seems pretty clear. Real mastery over sleep might not come from doing more tricks, more rules, more effort, but actually from a fundamental shift in how we relate to being awake when we don't want to be.
So maybe the question to leave you with is this. How much of your own sleep struggle might actually be about the fight against sleeplessness? Could it be that finding some peace with wakefulness, as strange as it sounds, is the unexpected path back to rest?
Thanks for tuning into Storytime. Remember, sleep isn't something you chase. It's something you invite. Until next time, keep dreaming.